the better part of 3 hours. And I couldn't conceive of why I was even there, what I was covering. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Pirates. As if you couldn't tell just from my tone, it comes your way bright and early every weekday morning. If you're into football and hockey, both of which I highly recommend, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. Padres 4, Pirates 0. That's, I don't even know how many losses it is in a row. I don't know how many it is out of the past, whatever. I know that the team is 12-23, and I know that's one of the worst 35-game starts in franchise history. And I know that not a blessed thing has been done about it. Not one thing. Not from above, not from below, not right at eye level. Not one thing. And being specific here because I don't really know what else there is to talk about anymore. Ben Cherington hasn't been fired. Derek Shelton hasn't been fired. I've been calling for both of their firings since late last season. Now, I would hope, in particular to those who would snap at me at the time, that it's clear why. It's not that Bob Nutting isn't also a problem. He's the actual root of the problem. But they are very much, these other two, part of the problem. I already forgot the name of the dude San Diego gave his first ever big league start to. But whoever he was, he pitched 5 1/3 scoreless innings, 4 hits. It doesn't matter who the Pirates are facing. They can't hit. They don't hit. And still, most maddening of all, there are times where they won't hit, meaning they don't want to, as in bases are loaded and they watch strike 3 go by with 2 outs. That's number one. Number two is that they're a fundamental mess. In this game, they committed 6, I counted them, 6 actual fundamental mistakes. Don't just count errors. There was one official error, and it really wasn't all that bad, charged on Jared Triolo. There were 6 mistakes in a 9-inning game. And that's just the norm. You just expect it. You're expecting nobody to hit the cutoff man. You're expecting nobody to go to a given base when they're supposed to. You're expecting runners to get picked off all over creation in all situations. You aren't necessarily expecting Matt Gorski to break for home on a ground ball after a 1-out triple when the Pirates needed 4 runs, not just his 1 run, and he gets thrown out by a mile, standing up, walking right into the tag at home plate. After which, he continued to play because nobody ever gets benched. I asked Derek Shelton after the game, what, if anything, would ever motivate him to bench somebody after really, really screwing up? Because I can't recall him ever having done that. And here's the whole exchange.
Shelty, when you see somebody just blatantly mess up, how tempting is it? What kind of line do you have to walk as a manager between, I just got to get him off the field, I got to show something, send a message, or just, stick with him, trust him?
Do you have a specific example?
Gorski breaking from home.
He made a young player mistake. He really, I talked to him the next inning. He made a young mistake. He's never been on the field with Manny Machado. And getting a 4-run deficit ball to his right-hand side, he's got to learn, So pulling him off the field and embarrassing him there, no. But talk to him, yeah. It wasn't a lack of effort play. It was
he took off.
Lack of awareness play. So, we have to talk to him. If that ball's hit to Bogarts or to Iglesias, he scores. But he's got to know a ball hit to Manny Machado's right, maybe one of the best defenders in the last 50 years. He probably is going to get flat-footed, although Manny's one guy that does have the arm to make that throw, but he's going to throw the ball to the plate. It's a learning moment for Gorski. It sucks in the moment because it ended up costing us a run, but, embarrassing the kid right there, I'm not going to do that.
Okay, now that's a fair answer by the manager. And there's a good part of me that respects that approach. The problem is his players don't respect him enough to avoid embarrassing him. He's worried about embarrassing them. They're embarrassing him. They're embarrassing the city with their fundamental play. And he does not have answers for this. And I say all this, now I'm leaving out the new elephant in the room here that nobody seems to be talking about, and that's that the pitching hasn't been great. And remember the whole, well, if only they can hit just a little bit, the pitching is going to be spectacular. The starting pitching, and I'm singling that out only because that was supposed to be the singular strength of this club in 2025. The starting pitching, after Andrew Heaney got hit hard again yesterday and didn't make it through the fourth inning, is now 22nd out of Major League Baseball's 30 teams with a 4.39 ERA. That's not as horrific as their offensive and defensive figures, but it's also not like they're wasting something awesome. Everything's going wrong. Everything. And nothing is being done about it. When the team boarded that charter flight to St. Louis early yesterday evening, they're going to play 3 games against the Cardinals this week. It was the same crew, same people, same everything. Before they got on that plane, I was in the clubhouse for about 5 minutes. I don't know that I've ever done this in my career, but I walked in there, I looked around the room, I saw there were just a handful of people still at their stalls, most of whom had not even participated in this particular game, so there's no one really to interview. Had a couple of quick, casual conversations with guys that I like. And I turned around and walked out. Not some protest or boycott or something childish. I just didn't have anything to do there. I didn't have any work. I didn't have anything to ask. There's no sign of any figurative ruffling of the feathers, of any sort of team meeting, of anybody appearing particularly displeased about either that day or the season overall, individually or collectively. If the music wasn't off, and that's the easy way to tell whether a baseball team has won or lost, this is true in all clubhouses, if they turn the music on, they won. Yay, look at us, woohoo. If the music's off, it's a little extra quiet, and everybody needs to kind of pipe down. That's it. That's the only way you can tell. No one's standing up. No one's making any kind of statement. No one's saying, this is unacceptable. This isn't what we trained for in the spring. This isn't what we talked about. This wasn't what had everybody in our little world excited. Nobody's doing that. The manager's certainly not doing it. And the general manager, I just can't. I can't. If I start on that guy, when we come back, J1Q.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragechek.org. That's gunstoragechek.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
I lied. I said I can't, but I actually can. And in fact, will go right ahead and comment on the general manager before we get to the J1Q. Ben Cherington did his weekly radio show yesterday. It's a team-produced event, and even though Greg Brown and Joe Block, depending on who's got that assignment for the week, do a fine job. In fact, they ask, in a lot of cases, a lot tougher questions than the regular media does. It's still in all a team event. And Cherington, even though he was in PNC Park and was actually up in the press box to do that show, did not meet with the regular media at any point in the 6-game homestand, as he usually does and used to religiously do. Now, if you're wondering why he might want to be limiting his public appearances these days, it's not just being 12-23. It's not just that he's yet to contribute a single bleeping hitter to the everyday lineup with respect to Joey Bart, who's still kind of new in the process, but is going really well. It's promising, but it's been 5+ years and $95 million in development investment just on signing bonuses. And the one guy he's brought along was a waiver pickup from the Giants. Anyway, I could do that all day, and I'm going to end up squeezing out the J1Q. So there's always a signature quote on these things, and this was the one from Cherington. I'm going to read it to you because we don't have the rights to play the audio from somebody else's program. You ready for this? Okay. I start. Quote, "We should not be patient about getting better today. It certainly starts with me, and it doesn't end with me. That's got to extend to everybody on our team. We all have to be urgent and not patient about getting better. What are the things we can do to our own jobs a little bit better today in a way that adds up to wins long term? Let's not be patient about it." All right, I'm going to end quote here and just remind you, I'm not making this up. This was real. This was actually spoken by a team executive. I have no idea what the hell it means. Now, I continue, open quote. "At the same time, you have to be disciplined enough and allow others to help you stay disciplined enough not to be rushed into something that would be a mistake and actually make things worse or harder long term. It's doing both all the time, but no, we shouldn't be patient. We've dug ourselves a hole, and it's not where we wanted to be at this point. I also still really believe we've got good baseball ahead of us. We've got to do our jobs and make that happen." Close quote. Still, me, have no idea what the hell this patient thing is, okay? But when you hear this crap, the we've really got good baseball ahead of us, that's his analytics people, the Army, the waves and waves of white-collared shirts that roam throughout PNC Park. That's them filling his head with, oh, it's all inevitable. Look, we've been unlucky. We can't get our hits to drop. Never mind that the Pirates, other than O'Neill Cruz and to an extent Andrew McCutchen, don't hit the ball hard at all. They're not exactly getting ripped off by the baseball gods. When they do get hits, they're just a bunch of singles. When they get singles, it's a bunch of squeezers that just either drop over the shortstop's head or squeeze between the first baseman and second baseman or whatever. But you don't see them ever have like one of those tear the cover off the ball kind of games. And I'm going to throw this in too before I swear I'm going to go do a J1Q. What did this mean when he said, stay disciplined enough not to be rushed into something that would be a mistake and actually make things worse or harder long term? Huh. Kind of curious, wouldn't you say? That sound like firing the manager? That sound like he had to talk somebody out of firing the manager? Sound like he had to talk somebody out of firing all of them, which already should have happened? Well, yeah, I guess that would make their jobs harder if they didn't have them anymore. All right, today's J1Q, and all of the J1Q entries, by the way, sounded like this one, so I feel like this is very representative. Doug Tyborski says to me, Dejan, it's become so depressing to watch the Pirates. I'm a diehard fan from New York. I can only imagine how much worse it must feel there in Pittsburgh. I don't understand how Bob Nutting can continue to watch this and not even attempt to do anything. Does he even care? Not enough, Doug. That's the answer that I've got. Okay, I get the bite back from people who know him well. It'll come up in conversations that I have with him myself. He cares, he cares, he cares. My belief, and I've shared this on this show before, is that he genuinely wants to win. Okay? It is on his want list, not on his don't want list. But I can say that in the same breath that I can say he doesn't want it enough for it to be his top priority. He's had multiple opportunities to spend in situations that would have been up front as opposed to after the fact, and they would have been reasonable, safe, I think, lucrative investments. I mean, I can put that in real world terms here. If you know you have a Paul Skeens and you at least thought You had a Jared Jones and Mitch Keller and Andrew Heaney at his best, Bailey Falter at his best. You should have thought you would have a nice rotation. I'm still of the belief that it can be one. And even with the early problems that David Bednar and Colin Holderman had, over the course of the summer, they're going to be okay too. What you needed were a couple bats. That's all. That's all. You would have driven up season ticket sales. You would have generated a lot more interest. And that in and of itself could have accounted for a lot more revenue, possibly enough to cancel out whatever investments you made. Additional investments. He doesn't operate like that. He doesn't even think like that. He does not spend money that's not physically sitting right in front of him. That I am not guessing at. So how and why is he continuing to watch this? I don't know. I haven't spoken to him for a couple of weeks. I don't have that answer. I don't really care to guess at it, but it's a really lousy reflection of how much he wants to win. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to this program. Against all odds, we will be back with another one tomorrow.